Speaking of totally out of touch leftists posing awkwardly for the camera, did you see the spread? Oh my God, it's unbelievable. With all these leftists in their living rooms. Hold on, I got to find this. Is this in the AM update? Yes, in the New Yorker. They call it powerhouses. And they've taken their favorite lefties and photographed. It was supposed to be a photograph like traditionally they would photograph their living room, like just show off. And as New Yorkers, I mean, I'm not one now, but I have been one for the past 17 years. We all love to see inside of each other's apartments. You know, it's like being on a cruise ship. They tend to be smaller, and it's interesting to see what people can do with such a small space to make it, you know, work and so on. So we're all fascinated by apartments. So showing the living rooms makes some sense. But this year they decided to add the humans in their living rooms. And it's all leftists because it's powerhouses, and they wouldn't. Why would they feature a conservative powerhouse? That's not of any interest to the New Yorker. So they've got again, just least attractive leftists you can find. And on that front, forgive me, but I'm just going to tell the truth. I'm going to start with Ella Emhoff, who they continue to tell us is some sort of a supermodel. I'd like to see the photos. What runway show has she walked in? Because what I see is a woman who would never qualify as a supermodel in anybody's book. She might be the living opposite of a Kate Moss or a Paulina Porizkova or a Cindy Crawford, who were the OG supermodels. She looks short, stubby, with large calves and a bunch of tats all over her and strange eyeglasses and hair in a very weird little living room holding a tiny little dog. So that's her. And then there's AOC in her Queens. They want you to know she's in Queens. She's a woman of the people, living room, knitting, because she's just like us, Stu. She lies at on her couch at home. And in between going to the Met Gala, remember, in a dress that reads tax the rich, as she's hobnobbing with them at $75,000 a plate, she knits. So that's relatable, okay? That's why she needs to be our next president. But my favorite is Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton, well-known race hustler and hoaxer, who somehow rehabilitated himself into one of the very serious and esteemed voices on MSNBC, whose photograph is him in his living room with a photo of him in the background. As author John Gabriel put it on X, like Al Sharpton, my house only has photos and statues of me plus a little cage for the kids, which is what it looks like. There's literally a huge photo of himself on the wall behind him, nothing else, then another photo that appears to be, I don't know, maybe of him, a statue, I don't know who the statue's of, could also be him, and then a weird little, looks like a pack and play kind of thing, which is apparently for his dog. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know Al Sharpton well enough, but he made the list. And then the absolute best is Huma Abedin and her husband, Alex Soros. Now, I understand. I feel for Huma Abedin because for years she's obviously been abused by Hillary Clinton as her right-hand woman. I mean, that seems clear when you work for a woman like that. So she must be able to take high levels of abuse. I mean, that's my opinion. And then she married Anthony Weiner, who had some weird photos of two young children, and really just his whole mayoral race ended in utter disgrace, as did his earlier race. He had a couple races which he was booted out of for his absolutely disgusting behavior, and then eventually their marriage failed. Shocking. And by the way, his laptop may have helped cost Hillary Clinton the presidency, so she's got to live with that, which is a leftist legacy no one wants on the progressive side. And then she finds like the payload, the son of George Soros, Alex Soros. Now, unfortunately, he's extremely homely, and there is a scintilla of sexiness about this man. He looks asexual to me. He just looks totally like asexual, like he's never had a beating heart looking at anything. And this is their pose in the most antiseptic, sterile, cold, uninviting living room I've ever laid eyes upon. It's got the floor-to-ceiling window, so I guess they think we're going to be impressed. They forgot to add anything resembling love, anything resembling comfort or coziness. You go to visit Ma Kelly, my mom Linda, you're going to get the doilies on the side tables. You're going to get the cute prayers that are framed on the window, on the walls. You're going to get the 2 matching lazy boy chairs, well worn and loved. You're going to get tons of family photos. Look at this. It's like hell on earth, this photo. Steve Krakauer said, and I totally agree with him, they've got Margot and Todd vibes from Christmas Vacation. Right?
Yes.
Remember, right? Elaine Bennis, what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where they're just, you could freeze ice on their ass. They look so cold. Here they are. And this is what they put out, like knowing it's going to be in the New Yorker, is like their power photo. And this has been some of the reaction. Okay, Stephen L. Miller, I love him on X. You know him. He's been on before with you, I think. He writes in response to all of this, sure, let's have that oligarchy conversation. X user Jarvis on this Huma Abedin and Alex Soros picture. By the way, there's something sexist about how he's sitting in like the power seat with his arm out and she's standing next to him holding his hand. There's something sexist about it. It reminds me of the Mika and Joe thing where she kicked her legs up and he was sitting in the power position. Like, this is her telegraphing subservience to me. Like, I'll get you whatever you need. What do you need? You need a coffee? You need a back rub? What can I get you? Anyway, ex-user Jarvis tweeted out, loved this picture in the voice of Alex Soros. Loved this picture of me, a heterosexual, and my wife, who I love being physically intimate with. Chadwick Moore, tasteless, frigid antiseptic. I've been in dentist offices with more soul and character. Byron York, one of, if not the most powerful person in the Democratic Party. Very heartland. Exactly right. So all of this does what for the Democrats' image, Stu Burguiere?
Not much, nothing positive. I don't think it does much for any of their images. You say that Alex Soros does not have a scintilla of sexiness. I assumed the sexiness was supposed to be provided by the commas in the bank account, which should provide you a very nice place. But it doesn't even seem to be, honestly, that they're hitting that standard. They look pissed in the photo. It looks like the last thing you see if you're an Uber Eats driver and you've dropped off the wrong order and you're backing out of the apartment. That they look at you like with just disgust at you, and it makes their life feel disgusting. It kind of does. I think like it has that element of it. There's this thing that this type of thing, if it were, some rich conservative who made his money through, I don't know, supplying really important fuel and energy to our country so we can have a civilization, that person with this same background would be, I don't think they would have it. I think it would look different, maybe a little more gold. But it would be seen as a disgusting sign of wealth and opulence and this grotesque capitalism that this country is hitting us with, despite the fact that it's also provided us with life expectancies that are longer than ever and billions of people ripped out of extreme poverty across the world. Those things are never discussed. We would just look at this as this disgusting, gross thing where these rich conservatives taking advantage of the American people. I mean, look, providing oil, providing technology, something much more than anything Alex Soros has ever done. He's the kid of a guy who went around the world, raping other people's currencies and destroying other people's currencies in foreign countries. He is not a sign of, the family wealth didn't exactly come down a tree that you'd want to necessarily brag about when it comes to levels of how wonderful that process is. And we're now supposed to look at this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's improved her lot. I will say she was married to Anthony Weiner and worked for Hillary Clinton. This might be the best possible days of her life. I mean, might be the golden years for her, frankly.
Unlike Vera Wang. This might be the golden age for her. This guy, like, all I can think about is it inherited wealth? Like, I'm not sure, because I spent a lot of time with, for example, Lachlan Murdoch when I was at Fox. I don't remember him doing photo spreads like this. He's actually quite private. He's got, I think, literally the largest home in Los Angeles. He and his extremely gorgeous supermodel wife, actual supermodel wife, they don't show it off. They don't need anyone's affirmation of how wealthy and powerful they are. That's what real wealth and real power looks like, in my experience. They don't want attention. The last thing they want is a show like Succession, right? Like talking all about them and their intra-family drama. But this guy, Alex Soros, has like leaned into his totally inherited role as kingmaker within the Democrat Party, right down to marrying Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner's castoff, which is just a very sad thing to be. And I don't know, like I think about it a lot. Like I really want to have in my life enough money that I can live comfortably and, you know, maybe give my kids a very small nest egg to help them in case of an emergency in their lives when I'm gone. And that's it. Because I'm telling you, you give too much wealth to the next gen and you wind up with a prick like that, with that facial expression, trying to act like he owns the world when he was just born on third base and has done absolutely nothing other than receive this baton of power and money from his old man. Like, how pathetic and how not stimulating to his female partner. I know the commas are supposed to provide the stimulation, as you say, but that generally requires you to earn them. What's sexy is a man who earns, whether it's a, you know, Mason or a millionaire. What's sexy is the hard work that goes into earning them. By this standpoint, George Soros is sexier than his weird little Gru-looking son. Doesn't he remind you of Gru from the Despicable Me series?
Yes.
Like all of it is, you couldn't like draw up a more apt villain.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's also, you could not draw up a better vision of the hypocrisy of the modern left, right? Like I work with Glenn Beck on a day-to-day basis. We've talked just a little bit about George Soros over the years, spent a little time on that topic. Yeah. And one of the big responses to that early coverage was, no, that's not what's happening here at all. You know, George Soros, sure, he's a Democrat. He makes some donations, but he's not this big puppet master trying to control, the United States and all of the policies. He's not doing those things. He's a factor, not a factor in the Democratic Party. You're being ridiculous. You're overstating this. And their answer to that is to put Alex Soros, who's accomplished exactly nothing on his own, precisely nothing, to elevate him to this level of control where Tim Walz was over at this same apartment during the campaign. He was meeting with Kamala Harris. He's best buddies with every power player on the left. They've taken at least a guy who was accomplished in his grift in George Soros and handed all this power times 10 to Alex, who seems to have done absolutely nothing to deserve it.
Except perfect his little villain face and his little pinky digging into the side of his smile. You know, Austin Powers like.
There is definitely a Dr. Evil vibe there going on. And what happens with all this money? It goes to fund candidates who come out and tell us about income inequality, to tell us about how millionaires and billionaires are bad people, how billionaires shouldn't even exist. These are things that left-wing activists say all the time, and it's being funded by this guy in this apartment. You cannot put a price on it.
They're literally right now lecturing us about oligarchy. Right now. This July, there is a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars will decrease, bringing down the value of the dollars in your savings. While this transition won't happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.